Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Ryan with Propelio. Today we have Blake Johnson on again. He is from Finishing Touches, and he is famous now. He was on HGTV with the Fixer Flop Fort Worth. Woo, local celebrity. Right?
Something like that. I don't know that I go as far as the celebrity status, but we were definitely on, yeah.
Well, I was proud of you.
Well, thanks.
Well, one thing, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, and what's kind of cool with you having coming in today is because if you watch a lot of the Facebook forums, a lot of Facebook groups, I know you have no clue what I'm talking about because you're, like 89 years old and don't Facebook.
I don't.
But a lot of the Facebook groups right now are like bashing contractors left and right. I need a good this, I need a good that. So if you're watching out there, this is your chance to really jump in the comment section and ask those questions and what are you trying to do with your contractors that you're not doing and getting basically a shitty product, because I know Finishing Touches is one of the better ones out there. So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. So first question I want to ask you is, what is turnkey renovations? What does that mean?
Essentially, it would mean everything from the curb to the alley, from the foundation to the roof. Mm-hmm. For us, it means all that. It doesn't really refer to the landscaping. We really try to avoid that.
Right.
We typically leave that up to the homeowner, or if they want us to handle it, we will, but as a whole, we typically don't. We stay out of the dirt.
But also, on that, because if I just bought a house, I'm buying a house today. So I bought a house, and typically I know investors, we want to just GC it ourselves and get all the subs.
Right.
Now, where does that compare to a service like what you're doing?
Well, Ryan, it's an interesting question, and I could probably elaborate all day about it. But
excellent.
What that ends
Makes
up
my job easy.
What that ends up turning into, more times than not, and I'm actually seeing this a lot more real time, like right now,
mm-hmm.
like as real as yesterday.
Okay.
That people are trying to hire their own contractors to save money, and the jobs end up falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
I met with a group of people yesterday that were in a house that they've been in for 6 months, and there's 4 different investors that are all partnered up on this deal. The contractor left with the money, and now they're going to have to hire us to come back and fix it.
Right.
But here's the crazy part. These people don't know what they're doing.
Right.
But they are assuming their contractor does know what they're doing. So they have 35 inches for a 36-inch refrigerator to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to cut the cabinets. Granite countertops are down. The house isn't painted, but yet the countertops are in, the cabinets are in. The cabinets don't have doors on them, but the cabinets are there, but we don't know where the doors are. All the air conditioner vents in the first floor, they're all covered up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find them.
You don't do that normally?
We don't know where they are. So they sheetrocked right over them, and now I really don't know how we're going to find them.
So if you're going to retroactively, like if you were going to be a teacher and grade that investor, where did they go wrong? Thinking they could do it themselves, or hey, they hired wrong, or they managed wrong, or is it a combination of all three?
Ryan, it actually goes back to you can take it back to almost your infancy. When did you stop learning?
Right.
They didn't ask the right questions in the first place. They weren't educated enough. They weren't engaged into their community. They didn't interview. They didn't talk to the people that they work with, because if they did, ideally the mentors in the world that are in the groups and educational platforms like this educate people on who to talk to and where to go and what to do. Mm-hmm. So they're just hiring chucks and trucks, and that's exactly what happened to them. And I'm seeing that. I see at least 1 to 2 of those a week now.
Okay.
And
like fly-by-night contractors that were never around and now they're here and then they run away with money, or
more
is that what
that
you're
the clients are, with all these flipping shows that are out there now, such as Flipper Flop Fort Worth.
Subtle plug.
Everybody thinks they can do it. They think it looks easy, so they jump in feet first. They hire the first contractor that comes along. They buy a house. They pay too much for it. And then they hire a contractor, and they get a third of the way through. The contractor is robbing Peter to pay Paul the whole time. And then all of a sudden now the snowball catches up. The contractor just leaves.
Right.
Just walks away.
Well, I think it's funny occasionally talking to new contractors, and they're like,
why are you talking to contractors, Ryan?
Well, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, if I was talking to contractors.
Just clarifying.
And they're like, hey, I want 80% of funds up front. And people are like, okay, pay that. It's like, whoa. Some contractors, they want materials. Some people don't. But if you don't have a working relationship, you need to really stop and figure out who's paying what and where that money is coming from. Because essentially, if you're like with us, I'm not paying for a door unless I see a door. You know, I mean, and every company has different policies.
And the challenges with that are, I'm not giving you a door till I'm paid for the door.
Right, but you have a reputation where
you can come by our office and see that I could not dismantle my entire place and shut my doors for one door.
Right, because he has an office, and that should be a test right there of do they have an office.
I think that is a very good starting point, is to say, hey, let me come by and meet your team, because if you're going to be on my team, then I want to meet your team.
So let's go back, because you kind of went on a...
I went on a rabbit trail.
You went on a rabbit trail, and you started something that was really good. And you starting with your infancy and really know how to interview a contractor. I know we talked about that before, and that video's somewhere buried in the archives, but let's just go back into it because we have a bigger following now that are watching. So I bought a house. How do I determine a good contractor and somebody I need to run away from?
It's real simple. You just call us.
Well, okay. What if I'm in Oklahoma? What if I'm in Arizona, etc.?
So, this is the best way that I can tell you to do it, Ryan. And actually, you have to understand, as homeowners are out there watching this or listening to this, this scenario I'm fixing to describe to you does not apply to the homeowners. This is only for us core investor groups. The simple test is going to be, number one, do you have an office? Let me stop by and just meet you. I do have people do that from time to time, but honestly, the people that come to our office to meet us are typically going to be, it's one demographic. They're engineers.
Right.
That's it. They overanalyze. I had a guy come to my office with a full-blown spreadsheet, 7 pages on an Excel spreadsheet broken down, and how he has created a rehab spreadsheet for himself. And it's like, man, this has already been done. Why are we doing this? I'm off on another rabbit trail. Meet the contractor at the job. So here's what I tell people is, if you go to let's say that you're the new investor, you just bought a house.
Right.
And you say to that, and the contractor walks up to you and says, when I go to clients, I immediately engage them and say, what are we doing with this house? Is it for rental or is it for resale?
Right.
What's the after repaired value? If he doesn't even if he or she doesn't even ask those questions to begin with, if they walk up and say, what would you like to do to this home? Or what is your vision?
Red flag.
Theoretically, that's a red flag straight out of the gate, because theoretically, if you have somebody that has experience and knows what they're doing,
they don't care.
I don't care. I don't ever need to meet you, Ryan.
Well, the thing is, and I see where you're going with that, and I don't mean to I know what he's talking about, but it goes back to pretty much everything about being an investor. Like my insurance person, Kim Stallings. Hey, Kim, I want insurance. Well, what quote do you want? I was like, I don't give a shit. I just want insurance.
Right.
I'm hiring you as a professional to tell me what insurance. Title. Well, what do you want? Why are you asking me what I want? You're the expert. Tell me what I need, not what I want. It's the same thing with a GC, right?
It's the same thing with the GC as going to the hospital. You don't go to the hospital and ask them and diagnose yourself.
Right.
It's the same concept.
So are you pulling comps? Are you going in there? Yeah, I was asking.
No, I'm not. I'm looking to you for the comps, because ideally you've already done your homework and you already know what the home's going to sell for. I just need to know that.
So I'm like, okay, it's a $200,000 house, and by the way, the neighbors have granite. Is that basically what you're needing?
I don't even need to know if they have granite, because I already know. Because the marketplace is going to yield $200,000 gets granite.
Okay.
The market is crazy right now. It's yielding $130,000 houses have granite.
Right.
So that just kind of goes without saying. But yes, and then basically what you want to do is allow that. You've been to the home. You already know what you want to do because you've got it in your head. Mm-hmm. Because you have your ideas, right? Don't voice any of them. Let the contractor tell you his ideas and see if his ideas and your ideas mesh, or if his are better than yours, or if he or she walks up to you and says, "Tell me what you'd like to do," and they just kind of stand there and stare at you. Then that again, that's the red flag, because they should know. Because you only want qualified people on your team. You don't want someone, because if you're having to tell him what to do now, it doesn't get better, because ideally that's an interview and you're putting your best foot forward at the interview. That's how life works.
And then also just throw in there the whole, because I know if I'm hiring a finishing touches versus hiring a day laborer, obviously you're going to be way more expensive than the day laborer, but at the same time I don't have to babysit you.
Right.
And then on top of that, with the day laborer, I'm always going to have to be adjusting, changing this, changing that. And with you, it's just like, go.
Right.
So where do you see investors, other than that, just messing up the most, other than not calling you in the first place?
Got it. You know, they probably make a lot of mistakes would be in not, this is a very sharp double-edged sword.
Okay.
Not taking time on the front end and getting their scopes of work correct.
Right.
So that's me as a teacher teaching.
Real quick, what is the scope of work?
Scope of work is the bid, the estimate that's been generated and or put together for you. That would be your scope of work, also referred to as a SOW. Mm-hmm. Not spending time to get that right the first time. Now, as the contractor, we have people that spend literally 3 weeks trying to massage the scope of work and trying to get it perfect. And that's, while frustrating as that is on the front end, it's better to have that than to have somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, and then we end up with a lot of changes through the course of the project that ends up slowing the process down.
Mm-hmm. And costing more money.
Yes.
So real quick, we do have some questions coming through here. If you have questions, please jump in. This is always more of a conversation versus an interview. I guess an interview is questions.
That's what you should be doing with your contractor.
Whatever. Ooh, nice plug. I like it. Hey, real quick, if you can help us out, please like this video. Please give us some hearts, some likes, the thumbs up. Share to your friends, share on the group, share here. Obviously, this is free, and Facebook, they want their money. So unless we pay an arm and a leg to get it shared out there, the only way we can actually get this out there is if you help us out with the shares. So I do have a couple of questions. It seems like a good time to jump in. So are you available even with your show? Guessing you have multiple crews.
Multiple crews, the show's over.
Multiple crews, the show's over.
Yes.
So Richard, that should be your good go-to guy.
Richard, we do over 200 houses a year, so yes, the show was in the summer, it's behind us, it's on the air now, so that's a non-issue.
So another question, so I'm sure, I mean, we run into this all the time. A house is a hoarder house. Do you clean it up before you start working? Do you clean it up before you even do a bid, or do you prefer somebody else to get it trashed out before
we can trash it out. That's a non-issue. It's hard to give accurate bids on real hoarder homes. We can get pretty close, but it's hard to get really dialed in. Mm-hmm. So we do a little bit more of a shotgun approach at that point. We're going to get a pretty good round number as to what it's going to cost. Then we'll trash it out, then tighten that number up.
So you're going to be like, okay, it could be this, but to get started, let's go ahead and cover the trash out, which is this.
I've done that before, where we kind of go in and give it's still a detailed report, but it may be, I may say, let's add $2,000 contingency just to cover what we uncover. Mm-hmm. Cover what we uncover.
Well, it's interesting because there's a house that I made an offer on last week that another friend of the show, Jason McDougall, was like, you made an offer on the house? Because he's the one that went to it, he took pictures, he took a video of it, and he didn't want to offer on it. And he's like, "Oh my God,
where was it?"
Is in Fort Worth. I don't remember the address, but it was just like he said there was a bunker, and it was just human feces everywhere and bottles, and one of those houses.
Gotcha.
So you're probably spending $2,000 to $4,000 on
just
trash
out.
Yeah. Anyway, that's fun. Do you help people rehab rentals where there's not a lot of rehab, just small stuff, but just needs to be done?
Our only stipulation is that it needs to be vacant when the work's to be performed. Mm-hmm. That's really our only.
So, and on that's a good segue to, you've got, going back to when you're interviewing somebody, is this a flip or is this a rental?
Well, it's funny because I was teaching a class a while back, and I had a realization in the middle of this class, and I didn't even realize it at the time, that our company's name is actually Finishing Touches Remodeling. And I was teaching this class talking about remodeling, and then I stopped and I caught myself and I said, wait, I'm not a remodeler. Mm-hmm. I'm a rehabber.
Right.
There's a huge difference between the two. So you want to make sure you're dealing with, when you're interviewing your contractor, you want to make sure you're dealing with someone that has experience in rehabs and not just remodeling.
Right.
So,
because remodel being like, oh, you have 1960s everything, and now you need to have 2018 everything.
Well, when I hear remodel, I think of homeowners. Mm-hmm. And their dogs and their cats and their kids are hunting through the house while we're trying to tear out their kitchen and put it back in.
Right.
So to me, that's the difference. And there is a different level between rental versus rehab. And there's not in today's market, being such as it is, it's interesting that the dynamics between a rental and a rehab and a rental and a resale are not that far apart anymore.
Right.
Because the market is up so high and the demand is up, and if you're going to be keeping it long term, then we can downplay the rehab. But if you're going to be reselling it in the next 3 to 5 years and or you're going to be refinancing, then it's going to look like a retail market.
When do you think that changed? Because I remember, 4, 5, 6 years ago, where it's like, oh, there's a hole in the wall, just stick some bubble gum in it or something like that. Like, when did you see the change of in the DFW market where you're basically your renovations and your rentals are about the same?
I would say probably about 3 years ago when the market first started to uptick.
Okay.
As soon as the gray color palettes came in, the neutrals went out and the grays and whites came in, and then everything.
Spot.
I don't, but I bet it was brilliant.
It was brilliant. Basically, you were saying you're no longer an investor. Now you're just a handyman or something like that. Man, it was one of those brilliant things. Anyway, what the whole concept was, if you're an investor, your time is better utilized buying and selling more houses. If you're inside swinging a hammer, you're no longer an investor. You're a rehabber. You're a renovator. You're a handyman.
I could definitely see where I would something like that would have come
You could
forward.
see how that would have been brilliant.
Yeah, I do.
Whoever said that was brilliant.
Well, and that's the reality of it. So, I don't know what cool, catchy thing I said then, but the reality is, if you're an investor, you get the value of time is money, and you're going to spend a little bit more to hire a professional contractor, whether it be me or us or someone else, or you're going to be in there swinging a hammer. Because when you're swinging that hammer and doing it yourself, you're kind of essentially jumping over a dollar chasing a dime, so to speak.
Right. Another question you have is when you're doing a bid, are you adding the labor and the material in a bid?
Yes, our bids are going to be
full service.
Yeah, they're full turnkey. They're going to include everything to get they're going to include your light bulbs, your door hardware, your plates, plugs, switches, your bath accessories. All that stuff is going to be included.
One of the coolest things to see in this business is if you've never had Blake walk a property, it's really cool because what he'll do is it's been a while, but what you used to do, get your handy cell phone out and take a video and walk through it and just start rattling off everything you need.
It's pretty much still the same. It's changed a little over the years, but the concept is still there.
Right. So if you're walking a property with a contractor that is not doing that sort of thing and not listing out all those things, live feed died. Oh no. Did Travion break it again? I'm just kidding, Travion. Anyway, maybe reload it. Anyway, live technology. We'll see. I forgot where I was going. Helen screwed me up. That's not good. I forgot what we were talking about. No. Well, I'm sure it's still live. Anyway, what were we talking about? Contracting?
Wow.
I know, it's kind of funny when you do this live stuff, when there's a technical difficulty, it kind of just breaks your brain. What's that? Just tell me what you're saying.
Walking through the property.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Tyler. Yeah.
That's it.
We were talking about walking through
the property and making really detailed notes. It doesn't have to necessarily be taking pictures or videos, as long as they're taking detailed notes. And I probably, because I probably move a little too quick for some people when I'm doing that, but it's just my nature is as I'm constantly on the go. But stopping and listening is important too.
Right. And that's the thing is, but again though, you want a contractor to tell you what you want,
right?
Versus asking questions and what you need,
right?
Because again, like if it's me, I don't care as long as I've got a house and I can make my margins, make my profit in and out, days on market like 1 or 2 days, everything's golden,
right?
Let's go into the shitty side of GC world. Like, this is your opportunity to say, like, what do you see people are doing wrong? Like, what are other GCs doing wrong that you want to advise other investors to stay away from?
I don't know that I know how to answer that because I don't know what they do other than I clean up behind them.
Okay, good question. What is it when you come in to clean up behind them? What are you seeing the most of?
Well, I don't know that it's GCs that I'm cleaning up behind, or whether it's Chucks and trucks, or I don't really know. Because honestly, typically the clients are somewhat, they don't like talking about it. They don't really. They're just like, that was the past. I need to move forward, type of deal. Just poor workmanship. It's poor workmanship and no one to police the poor workmanship. Meaning the investor really doesn't know what they need or what they want, and they don't know what they're supposed to get, so they get poor workmanship, like covering up the air vents, not allowing enough room for the refrigerator to actually fit. I've got one house that I'm looking at right now for a lady who's got a horrible floor plan, and she's almost done. but it doesn't flow at all. And I overheard her tell the other investor yesterday that, well, that's because Rodrigo did the design. And I'm like, well, who's Rodrigo? And he's like, oh, well, that was the contractor. And I'm like, so you allowed like this guy that you don't even really know that well to basically, I mean, in short, they handed him a $400,000 house and said, here you go. So I actually asked her, I said, so let me ask you a question. If Rodrigo was still here, would you give him $400,000 to invest?
Right.
And she was like, absolutely not. And I said, well, that's what you did. You haven't looked at it like that.
Yeah. And then again, we always talk about get creative in here and like think of outside the box. If it's like this, think of it this way. You know, on that note, we actually almost bought a house maybe a month ago in Fort Worth where it was a $900,000 to $1 million home and you could buy it for $500,000. And the reason you could buy it for $500,000 was it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in a neighborhood that should have been a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it was a 3-story, you know, bedroom on the top floor, bedroom on the second floor, and that's it. And it was built in like 06 for a homeowner who never thought they would ever leave, and now they can't sell it. And it was one of those things, we ultimately didn't take it down because it was like, okay, there's enough space to put another bedroom on the bottom floor, but then you have a house where you have every single floor bedroom, and you know, if you're a parent, you're not going to spend $1 million on that home.
No.
So ultimately, we're like, that's way too risky.
Yeah.
The whole point of that, bringing that up, was the homeowner was making those decisions versus a professional.
Right.
So, which is bad. You know, as far as going back to the turnkey and talking about that, like, I'm trying to get back on the rails, you know, because my mind's going to blank. You know, I'm failing miserably.
We got any
here.
questions?
Other than people just being mad at me for the feed, the internet dying on us. You know, we were talking about the walk in the property, and my brain just died.
So we were talking about walking the property. We've discussed interviewing contractors and what to look for in that scenario. Let's talk about levels of finish out.
Yeah, let's do that.
You know, I touched earlier on gray color palette, which grays, I never thought periwinkle would be a color, but that I would say or use.
Is that a color?
Yeah, most definitely, like a light lavender.
Okay.
Lavender. We're doing a lot of those colors, a lot of white subway tiles, stuff like that. It's interesting, the designs are becoming much more creative than they were 4 years ago. 4 years, everything was vanilla.
Right.
Very generic. Everything was snippet of tannin.
But isn't that safe when you go vanilla?
Not anymore. No, nothing that we do really, other than our standard rental package. Like if we're going for sale, we're putting some funky stuff out there, man. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is the design. Some of that's designed by the client. Sometimes they give us free reign, but there's some pretty wild stuff going on.
What's the wildest thing you've seen right now?
Honestly, one of the TV shows, we did it was a bathroom with a black and white tile. Mm-hmm. It was pretty intense.
So is that, again, were you doing it for a sale or were you doing it for a particular client that was like, hey, this is what I want? Or
that was for the show.
Okay.
Yeah, that was specifically for the show, and that was a pretty wild design feature to do.
So was that fun working on the show?
Yes, it was great.
What were some of the complications? Just timelines and having to
logistics.
Yeah,
it was pretty tough.
Because I can imagine, I've never worked on a show before like that, other than working here, where every once in a while you have like kind of a glitchy feed. But don't worry, we're recording and we can put it on YouTube, so you'll see the HD non-glitch version. Thank you, it's not even Time Warner, Spectrum. But like I can just imagine like you wanting to get your guys in there, swing the hammers, be done with it. But you're waiting on a film crew, like taking a picture or something.
Yes.
You're like, I'm trying to have an open-ended question. He's like, I am not going down that rabbit hole.
No, yes, no, it was. There was, logistics were a challenge.
I can see, though, it'd be a lot of fun, though. Like, you know, possibly going, hey, I'm going to go on vacation in New York. And like, hey, I saw you on that show.
You know, that does happen on occasion. I'll get a text from some person I haven't talked to in 25 years, and I just get a random message that says, if this is still Blake, I just saw you on TV.
So, can I borrow some money?
Yeah.
You're like, just because I was on a show doesn't mean I have money now.
Right.
I'm not saying he doesn't have money, but I'm just saying random. Back to the houses, because I know, like, if you're watching this, if you have questions, what is the worst thing that you've seen from general contractors? I know in this world, like I was alluding to at the very beginning, there's a lot of, like, conflict. At least seems like.
I got a great topic for you.
Please do.
So here we go down this rabbit hole.
Excellent.
I said this statement in a class one time, and I didn't really realize what I said till I said it. And again, this does not apply to homeowners and homeowner-like things, okay? This applies, and I can only say that this should apply only to us. I can't say that this applies for any other contractors or things of that nature. If you treat us like contractors, we'll treat you like a client.
Okay.
You treat us like a teammate, and we're going to treat you like a team player.
I like that.
So, and you got to let that resonate. At first, it's kind of like, what is he saying to me? But when you let it resonate and you really get what it is, it's like, man, there's a lot of depth there. So basically, breaking it down to what that means is, if you're going to if you're the client and I'm the contractor, you're going to keep your cards real close to your chest because you know that contractor's out to get you.
Right.
And the contractor is going to keep his cards close to his chest because this customer, that's just how it is.
Well, like, I mean, I know that back in the day, and I'm not saying this is how it should be or how it is, but the general feeling was the investor was trying to screw over the contractor's trying to screw over the investor.
Exactly.
And then the homeowner was just trying to find the best deal and screw over everybody.
That's the persona.
But there was like that ongoing triangle of battleness.
Correct. So for our company, we got to break that wall down. And in fact, I had a client here recently that when we were walking through the house, it was horrible. The tension in the room was just atrocious, and I hated it. And I actually stopped and I said, listen, either we're going to break the wall down right now and we're going to squash all the tension that's in this nasty house that we're in, or I'm just going to leave.
Right.
And not because I'm trying to offend you, but because this doesn't work. This isn't how our model and how I am wired or I'm set up. I'm a teammate. I'm here to help get you through your problems.
Well, one thing I know about you is in finishing touches, and this is how you should be. This is what you should be looking for in your GC and your network. Is if I'm working with you and you're not working with me, I get the feeling that you're not trying to work on this one house. You're trying to work on all of my houses and all my future houses. So if you've got a GC who's only trying to screw you out of just like a couple dollars on this one deal, they're not part of that team. They're not looking to be on your team.
I say all the time, I don't want this house. I want them all.
Right.
And the only way I get them all is to make sure that we're on the same team.
And I know I've been in a situation before where you're like, you haven't bought this house yet, have you?
Yeah.
You do not want to buy this house. So if you've got a contractor on your team who's going to tell you not to pursue an investment deal and they're ready to walk away from money because they're advising you to walk away from the deal because they know you were not going to make money, that's somebody you want on your team.
And that's crazy that I don't understand that. I had a guy 2 weeks ago that I literally said, not only are we not going to do this job for you, I'm advising you to not buy the house. Well, he was $5,000 in on a hard money, on a earnest money, and he wouldn't walk. So he's doing it somewhere, somehow. Now, on the other flip side, I had a lady, Angela, just met her yesterday, but we were communicating probably 2 weeks ago on a deal in Fort Worth that she had me go look at, that she was under a contract with a wholesale firm here. And you know, I walked in, my foundation guy met me there. And she wasn't there, she was at work. And we walked in and started laughing and we joked around for a little bit, and then we left. And she called me that afternoon and said, hey, what'd you find out? And I kind of tried to dance around the topic a little. I was kind of like, well, yeah. Then I just finally said, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I can't do this house. It's bad. It's in bad shape. I advise you to not even move forward with the transaction. And she called me back 45 minutes later and she said, I just lost $5,000. I appreciate it. And I was like, somebody actually took the advice. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was excited. And
well, we talk about it all the time here. And again, I'm going to butcher the saying, but it's like, don't throw good money at bad money.
Right.
You know, so if you've got a professional contractor who's been in this business since 1991, it's on your shirt.
It's actually printed wrong.
Oh, my bad. It's printed wrong. Anyway, been in business for a couple of many years.
18 years now.
18 years now, and they're telling you to walk away. And if you've been in this business, either it's happened to you or you know people who have lost 20, 30, 50, 60, 100 grand because they just started throwing money down that well of that money pit. I mean, there was that Tom Hanks money, the money pit house, whatever. And that's the same thing. So if you have $5,000 earnest or whatever, or maybe you took it down and your contractor is telling you to run away, you might take that as an expert opinion and run away.
Yeah, but I'm surprised how many don't. And I tell you what it is. This is another good one for us.
Okay.
It's emotional attachment.
Yes.
They've seen the TV shows, they've read the books, they've watched all the movies about it, and they've got wrapped up in the romance of flipping houses.
I'm a flipper.
Yeah. So, and then they've taken this house down, and now they're emotionally attached to it because they liquidated an IRA or they've done something to get this money to take this house down, and they don't want to hear anyone tell them that they can't do it.
Right.
And you got to remove the emotion. You know, I have stickers. I wish I had one. I have stickers that say it's not your house, it's your investment. And that's one of my driving forces is you got to get that into their head.
Yeah. And again, though, it's like you can't get emotional. It goes back to if you like the god-awful flower wallpaper from 1983, that doesn't mean it should go in your investment house.
No, it's not.
You know, and you should listen to your GC to say, no, don't do that.
You know, I had a lady the other day, and she, I like to teach and talk about my experiences because it's real world stuff happening. Mm-hmm. And she's got a nice house worth $200,000 and beautiful hardwood floors, but carpet in the bedrooms. Hardwoods are under the carpet, okay? She was so...
That's like a gold mine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was so dead set on keeping the carpet. It was blue too. But it was a good quality carpet, honestly. It was a good quality carpet with a good pad.
Right.
But she loves carpet. Her entire house is carpeted. And it took 3 weeks, and she finally just said, you know what, you're right. And I'm like, I spent 3 weeks trying, and I got to the point where I just said, you can lead a horse to water. You know, so I just said, fine, we'll leave the carpet. That's fine.
And real quick, what I was referring to the gold mine is a lot of times, I don't know what year it was, but the 60s, 70s, 80s renovation, again, that was the whole renovation era. They were like, just threw carpet on all of these really nice hardwood floors. So every once in a while, you'll get into one of these rehabs and you check under the carpet and you have amazing hardwood. And if you're an investor and you come across that, then you should just get the whole warm feeling and the giggles and be like, woohoo, I just made a lot of money.
Yeah, not having to fight it. But yeah, we fought it. I won. I'm going to win.
But, Daniel throws up again. It's like you could lose 5 today or 10 tomorrow, going back to what we were talking about as far as, if a situation is bad and everybody is telling you bad and all your team members are telling you to run away, again, you could lose 5 today or you could lose 10, 20, 30. And,
it's also, you got to, when you're looking at that in terms of losing the money, you're looking at going, okay, I'm going to lose, but it's not 5 you're losing. If you continue to go down that, you're losing time.
Right.
And then people say, well, I'm going to go ahead and go through with it to gain the experience. Well, that's horrible. that's just, you're losing so much more. It's not just the 5. You're losing all the time and the energy and the effort that you're putting into that home that you already know you're going to be upside down.
You're probably going to lose passion too. Because if you do real estate and you lose your ass, you're like, man, that IRA just sounds a lot more interesting.
I got burned and I'm never going to do it again.
That contractor screwed me over.
Yeah, it's always the contractor's fault.
So Miranda brought up a good question about when should I get a GC quote? Is it when I have it under contract? Is it before getting a contract? Is it on that initial buy call? Because there's a couple people here that are just going to be like, hey, I want to call Blake up. It's the wholesaler, it's the flipper. Who should, when and should they be coming? I can't talk to them.
Miranda, honestly, there's not a good answer for that. There was 2 years ago when the market was different, but now the market it's just so hot that there's not a good answer. Honestly, as soon as you can get it under I would say either as soon as you're under contract, I would call and try to get on a contractor schedule, or as soon as you know, even if you get a verbal and you're waiting on the docs, I would go ahead and making those phone calls. I even have some clients that go so far as to advise us, say, I've got this house coming under contract in the next 4 days, when can we meet? Or I've got I had an email this morning, the guy said, hey, I'm going to look at a house at 10 o'clock today, can you meet me? It's in Dallas. Unfortunately, I couldn't because we're scheduled out. But we're usually scheduled out, 24, 48 hours in advance. But I prefer that email because if I'm in Dallas and I have a cancellation, or if I can just swing by in between houses, I tell you what, that's another topic. Swinging, in today's market, being so fluid as it is, the idea and the romance of meeting contractors on every house that you're looking at and trying to get numbers are gone. And because the reality is, I know that all the new clients are looking for spending time with the contractor and getting that education and that one-on-one. Guys, I'm trying to be honest with you. Those days are gone. Now it's about getting the number, because really, honestly, all we're after is the number anyway.
Right.
We need a number. We can do all the education and the kumbaya and do all that stuff once we get it tied up under contract. But me and you meeting at 4 o'clock in Dallas just so you can walk the property with me, that doesn't make any sense.
So let me call you out though. Like, if I've never done business with you, how am I supposed to? Because earlier your advice was walk a property with a contractor to see if they're a good fit.
Right.
So are you referring to that first time, or hey, you've already done business, you don't need to see me again?
It's a little bit of both. Because yes, if we've done business, then yes, you don't need to meet. But the problem is, if you want to meet, we're going to be 24 to 48 hours out. So I can meet with you, but we can't do it. I can't do it on Wednesday. I can probably do it on Thursday.
Right.
But if we're that close to looking at a deal and it's a number, and you've got a vetted contractor that's been in the market quite a while and has a good reputation, then get the number first.
Right, because in this market, if you're waiting 2 or 3 days to get a contract,
you're not going to get the deal.
Somebody else is going to come through and get the contract right after you.
Correct. So that's why I said earlier, it's a very sharp two-edged sword that we're trying to balance, because it's such a fluid market. You have to move quick, but at the same time, you can't just trust every person you meet. That actually probably is a better reason to go with the bigger firms than the little guys, because the market is so fluid. You don't have time. You have to react quicker.
So let me bring up an interesting topic, at least to me. So I was on the phone with a gentleman, a contractor out of Houston, because he was wanting to, hey, I like Propelio and I possibly want to start investing, and we picking my brain. And what he was saying is he's actually starting to see a lot of contractors from Houston go up to Dallas, because Dallas is more expensive, because after the hurricane, a bunch of contractors from Dallas went to Houston.
Yeah, that was a challenging time after the hurricane. We were right in the middle of filming for the show, and people were heading to Houston.
So all your laborers, all your contractors, because there's way more ample opportunity for work. But are you seeing that? Because like, to me, it blew my mind hearing this from this guy that from Houston saying, yeah, a bunch of his guys are going to Dallas because there's more work in Dallas, or not more work. It's just they can get paid more because there's a surplus. Getting all economics-y on you. There's a surplus of labor for contractors in Houston, and there's a deficiency. That's not the right word, but there's a.
I think
in
it's
Dallas.
Probably kind of leveled out a little now.
Okay.
There, when it originally happened, yeah, there was a definite
Everybody.
surge.
Oh, of course, we couldn't get anybody to do our work.
Yeah, no, there was a surge, and it was.
Hell, I was painting because I couldn't find a painter. Which is exactly what we tell you not to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But again, if you got to wait 2 weeks to get a painter, or you know what, just go in the evening and work till 2 in the morning and do it yourself.
Right. Yeah, those were challenging times. I think we're over that hurdle now.
Right.
At least I feel like, I can't speak for the massive, but I can speak for myself. I'm over that hurdle now.
Okay, so you're not seeing, now it's just, you're just busy.
We're busy, yeah. We're steady, but we stay pretty steady year round.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're coming into the selling season too.
So let's jump into a couple more questions here. I'm sorry, it takes me a second to read. Just bear with me. How do you handle remediation of mold, smoke, water, asbestos damage? From Chris Mays.
I hire the professionals that handle that stuff. Simple as that.
And as a turnkey GC, I'm hiring you to handle the house.
Yeah, and I will hire out those people with the certification needed.
So on that note, we're talking about team players. I know I need an insurance person. I know I need to take care of utilities. If I'm hiring you, what all do I get? Are you mowing the lawn too, or do I get hired?
Typically, our clients use the people, whoever mows their yard, or they handle it. They handle that as well.
So, but everything under the roof, if it's an electrician, a plumber, a foundation, a mold guy, asbestos guy, whatever, that's you.
Correct.
Cool. That answers that question. What is the one thing you will absolutely not do? And I don't mean like that. In the GC world, what is the one thing you won't do? And I'll add to that, what's the one thing that you hate doing?
I hate doing burnouts.
Okay.
2 years ago, I would hate and not do burnouts. Mm-hmm. Market shifted, and there's just not as much inventory as there was, so we're doing more and more.
Why is that?
There's no inventory.
I mean, but no, why is it that you don't like burnouts?
Oh, they're a pain. They take forever to do. They're difficult. You have to, city involvement. You have to rip it all out, put it all back, all the inspections and things you have to go. It just takes a lot of time.
So all the permits and all that yahoo-ness. Yeah, I could see. I mean, honestly, I've never done a burnout. I've never done a burnout, and the people I know do burnouts. They love them, and that's their specialty. They found their niche, and they take care of them. What areas do you cover in the DFW area?
So if we had a big map, we could look at, and we go as far north as the Colony and touch into Frisco, come around towards Garland, under Garland, down by the lake, whatever lake that is out there, and then go the bottom up to DeSoto and come back around towards Mansfield, then swing up outside of Arlington and come back up through Fort Worth. It's a pretty big brush stroke.
It's a big bubble. Eddie Miller loves you. He's giving you a lot of praise. Daniel Trinidad, team player, both parts of the project, aiming for success. And that's a good point. You know, I'm glad you brought that up, Daniel, is going back to the team player aspect of it. Because if you're the GC and I'm paying you, I don't want to say a pretty penny. I don't want to seem like I'm paying you crazy money.
Just say a premium.
I'm paying you a premium because you're covering everything. You want me to make money so I can rehire you.
I have to make sure you make money.
Right. Because, if I nickel and dime it with this other guy, I could make more money, but I'm losing time, I'm losing hassle, I'm pulling my hair out, and I'm having to deal with people I should not be dealing with because, again, going back to the time aspect, I should be going out and
finding
buying
the next deal.
So hopefully we've kind of killed that kitten. I don't know if that's an expression.
I don't know if you should be saying that. Yeah, we're going to have payday in here in a minute.
Dead horse, or I don't know. Killed the kitten. There we go. Well, it's a new expression. I made it up. Jawad, thank you. I try. Good question, Renee. What is an example of when you would advise not to buy, not to move forward?
I mean, when isn't it being major foundation? It's kind of hard because I have to kind of know. I mean, that's hard to answer because you've got to lay eyes on it. But, I looked at one the other day over by Fair Park in Dallas, and I advised him to push it over and build new because there was new construction starting to happen in that particular area. Honestly, it's a case-by-case basis. They have to be, this is what we do. So we are the guys that fix ugly houses. So it's going to have to be pretty damn ugly for me to tell you to not buy it. Or I see things that really, really concern me. And even then, if you have it deep enough, it may be good.
Right. So on that note, do you build new houses?
We do dabble in new construction, yes.
You dabble, or is it, now when you say you dabble, is that more of for your personal investments, or is that because I've never done new construction, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, we've got clients that we're doing new construction for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
If I get that house and that, like Renee was referring to, that's just a complete mow down.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, I advise we mow it down and build a new one.
And that's exactly what I told him. And he's got 3 other lots in that same general area that we're probably going to build on.
Now on that, are you providing the engineering, the plans, this, that, and the other, or are you advising them to find an architect, engineer,
we can do all
et cetera?
that. We can go either direction.
And you're gonna are you driving the bulldozer to knock down the house?
No, because I know my time is more valuable helping my clientele.
Doing with the video. Looks like Bobby loves you too. He's saying Bobby Heavington worked with Blake on several of his homes. Highly recommend his and his crew. Easy to work with, and they have the knowledge to solve problems that will come up.
Hey Bob, I'll probably see you at the mixer on Wednesday, and the drink's on me.
You mean the one that Kristen's going to buy? Because isn't that a free? Don't you get 2 free drink tickets?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Well, easy plug for REI Social Club, Kristen, and over there at Bay Mountain, they do a pretty cool event. So if you hadn't registered, I'll drop a link in here later. It's a cool event. I'm there, you're there.
Yeah.
I think you sponsor it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They won't let us sponsor because a competitor sponsors, but it's all good. We can still go and hang out.
But you didn't have to call me out.
Well, I guess technically you are buying a drink.
Yeah.
You're buying everybody drinks.
So there you have it.
Melody, it's okay that you're late. It's okay. Tyler's question: should investors ask for references for contractors, or do contractors typically provide references, or how can investors check out their contractors? Good question.
That is a good question. The best thing to do if you're interviewing, trying to establish, the relationships, is spend time in the community. The community is going to give you the best feedback. And, when people ask me for references, I'll give them whatever they want. I tell you something else you can do that's pretty good, is ask to go see their work. And I'm not saying that you need to go with them, but I'll give you an example. I have clients all the time that say, hey, I want to see, I need to understand, and it's typically engineers, I need to understand what you're doing, what this house is going to look like. I just give them a lockbox code and an address. There you go. Go check it out. Here's 2 or 3. So if you can ask a contractor if they have that ability, then you're gaining some traction and you should have a little trust in that. If they say, no, I don't have anything, everything's completed right now. Really? Mm-hmm. And if they're ready to start tomorrow, that's another good one, okay? So at any given point, we're gonna be 5 to 7 days out from starting a project, but if the contractor's ready to start tomorrow and his hand's out, shut the door and keep driving.
So that goes back to, I have 2 points on that. This goes back to when should I be talking to you? Before I get the house contracted, or after the contracted, or actually after I purchased? Because ideally, if I have an investor and I have time and I am efficient with my time, if I'm closing on it, I want boots on the ground that afternoon.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Ever.
That's just not in today's world. It's just, you can get close, but man, you're gonna have to be so unbelievably not only organized on yourself, it's tough to do, man.
Because if I'm hiring you, the risk there is you've already bought material, you've already got your people ready to go, I've already got a down payment to you, whatever, and then, oh, by the way, title issues, it's not closing until tomorrow. You're like, I'm charging you for the day.
I've got a guy that is, we just literally, this house was on the list to go to foreclosure last night, okay? We just got it pulled off the list this morning. So now it's off the foreclosure list, but we were ready to, he wanted us to get ready to start this Monday, but we just got through with Wells Fargo getting it off the foreclosure list this morning.
Right.
So now so you can't schedule that. It's too fluid of an environment to be, now 5 years ago when we had 30-day closings, yeah, you bet.
Mm-hmm. So, and then additionally to the point a second ago of how to vet these guys is, Facebook is powerful. You go to any of your local real estate investor groups, all you have to do is type in, what do you think of finishing touches? What do you think of Propelio? One thing that we always tell people is like, hey, how does Propelio rate against a competitor? Our standard policy is like, I'm not going to comment on what a competitor does. What I suggest is going into a group and say, what does everybody think about Propelio? And I guarantee you, Facebook, you get the keyboard warriors, people are going to let you know. So if you say, what do you think about finishing touches? And all of a sudden, and shit just starts flowing in, that's probably a bad reference. What do you think of ABC General Contractor? Because I don't.
Yeah, let's go that direction.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I was sitting there going, dude.
I don't think you're shit. So if ABC Contractor and people are just shitting on them left and right, that's probably a sign that you should probably go, okay, give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit. But if everybody in the community is crapping on them, that's a good sign that maybe you should take your business somewhere else.
Well, and nobody's ever going to please everybody 100% of the time.
Of course.
Period.
I understand that. And so if you've only got one keyboard hero just bashing you, okay, I get it. What do you think about a service like an Angie List or a Home Advisor?
I think they're great for homeowners.
But not for investors.
No, you got we keep saying the same thing. It's plug into the community. Plug into the community. Network. Dial in. Go to all the events where I'm buying free drinks. And
only him. He is the one that has all the tickets.
That's it. You know, I mean, it's the community. It's, you know, Dallas Fort Worth looks huge. Actually, I said that wrong. Fort Worth Dallas looks huge, but it's really not. And there's only a handful of people that are really making most of these deals happen.
Right. Yeah, and then we always talk about network, and it really is, because the real players, they're going to know who's good. They may not know who's bad because they don't work with who's bad.
That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, because the thing is, you ask me a title company you should use, I'm going to tell you use Charlotte Trout over a Capital Title. You tell me who not to use, you know who I don't like. Yeah, I'm not going to say them on camera, but you know who I don't like. Shout out to Henry. You know, you find the people you like, you build your team, and you continually use them, and there's no reason to dabble elsewhere. Another question. We talked about burnouts. You know, I know you don't necessarily like burnouts, but what are the challenges, what are the advantages of an investor targeting a burnout?
It's cheap.
It's just the discount.
Yeah, and nobody really wants to. There's not a lot of people like to mess with them. They're big, they're scary, they're just nasty,
right.
And people just don't like them.
Well, and again, though, it goes back to the permits, the code enforcement, et cetera, et cetera.
And when you go to sell it, you do have to sellers disclose. And here's what's interesting about that. So from a normal perspective, people out in the world, nobody likes if I told you, hey, this house is for sale, and it was burned, immediately you're going to go, oh, let's move on down the road.
Right.
The reality is, it's newer than the one right next door.
Yeah. Because they had to rip all that crap out.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's new. But there's something about our psyche that just says that's a burned out house. So they still have to discount that house a little when they go to sell it because it's previously been burned. But reality is, everything's new.
So completely off the rails, just for my own
Here we go.
personal satisfaction, have you ever dealt with like a violent death house?
Yes.
What is that like? Like, I mean, obviously, a professional hazmat crew's already come up with all the other stuff. But is there any challenges other than getting the heebie-jeebies?
No.
Or is it just a typical rehab?
Just pulling the bullets out of the wall. And really, you know, stuff like that, we don't really relay down the pipeline too much. Like, I know because I'm involved in all those transactions, but I really don't relay that too far down the pipeline.
Okay.
Because people get really kind of weirded out. People have different.
Right. Well, I had a conversation with Josh Spector, Line Foundation, because I had him look at a potential murder-suicide house, and I was talking to him. He's like, "You didn't tell me that." I was like,
"See, that's exactly
my bad."
Right.
He's like, "I wish you would have said something."
Yeah.
I was like, "You couldn't tell the random kills on the wall and the bullet holes?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't even notice."
Yeah,
But,
we don't. We do. Yeah, we come across those.
Okay, but it's just hear no evil, see no evil, and move on.
Yeah, pretty much.
But at that time, I'm
probably a little desensitized to it too.
Right, and not to make light of it, but it's just weird and interesting. It's a very sub niche, but like, is it already been kills? Like, do you go in there, or is it just completely cleaned out?
No, typically when we go in there, it's fairly clean and the carpets are all gone.
Right.
Any flooring's gone. We're down to bare concrete, and the walls have been lightly scrubbed.
So the only evidence is like either like bullet holes or not.
Pretty much.
Stuff being taken out.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, that was.
Yeah, that was dark.
I know. It was just like, ooh, interesting. Sorry. Here at Propelio, we strive.
This guy, man, he's going down the dark road.
Anyway, how is house flipping business doing as far as labor? I cannot read today. How is house flipping business doing as far as labor availability to flip? Can you easily find subcontractors and qualify labor for rehabbing, or is it becoming challenging due to the market being so active? We touched on it a little bit, but basically I think he's asking is...
It's not, we're not in a horrible, bad situation. Qualified is always a challenge, period, across the board. Honestly, the prices of labor are going up, and we're not going to go down that part of the road. I was just thinking out loud.
You don't want to keep going?
No, we don't want to do that. No, not where I was thinking. The labor prices are definitely going up a little, so that is a challenge. And honestly, the skill sets are not matching what we're able to pay. Mm-hmm. And what I mean is, we're doing a lot more higher end stuff than we were 2 and 3 years ago.
Right.
So the people that are qualified to do that caliber of work cost more.
Right.
You know, we've got more houses under $400,000 ARVs after repaired value than we've ever had. And there's, you know, I can't let my guys that do a $130,000 home do a 400. So we have to bring in a little bit of a better crew.
Because on the $130,000 houses, those are the ones that are the 2 week, 3 week rehabs versus the 400s. Those are like, hey, it's going to
2 to 3 months.
Yeah. And on that, just a random thing is I read an article maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago about how the inventory, obviously the inventory for any house in DFW is dramatically low, but the 200 below is just nowhere to be seen. Because the new builds aren't 200 below; they're the 3, 4, 5, 8s.
Me and Greg in our office were talking about that the other day.
Greg in my office and I. You're welcome, Mom.
Gotcha.
Grammar.
Got it.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Here we go. It is interesting that in today's world, 4 years ago, there was a $150,000 home.
Right.
Now it's pretty much almost 200.
Yeah.
200's the new 150. And that's crazy to think that we're doing that well as an economy, that's where we're going. I mean, that's just crazy.
200 is the new 150. I like that.
Yeah?
It's kind of like a new tagline for something.
You digging that? Hashtag that.
Hashtag 200, the new 150.
What's a hashtag?
I don't know. It's like Facebook.
Okay.
You know, Miranda has a new good question. And, that's not the question. Talking about, you know, before about the house not flowing. When you go in and I bought a house, and I'm saying, Blake, go. Now, if it doesn't flow, are you recommending taking walls, moving walls, or are you just going to keep what's there?
No, trust me, I have an opinion about everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let you know it.
So if the wall needs to move, we're
moving it.
Okay.
In fact, it gets to the point where I'm just going to tell you this is what we're going to do to get your after repaired value. It's like the lady in the carpet.
Right.
I fought her so long, and then finally, I think she realized I beat him down.
Well, again, it goes back to this is what you do. You're as an investor, your job is to find deals, make money. Your job is to make the deal work.
Right.
Another question is, what is the craziest thing you have seen, experienced in this business? Feel free to go dark. I'm just kidding.
Well, it ends up there.
Okay, cool.
So
I like it. Or maybe not.
I don't. I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's one that I'm really not going to talk about because it is really dark and I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But I would say the second one would probably be, and I've seen this more than once, but it's probably, I was in a house in Arlington just 2 weeks ago, and it was a hoarder. She had been living there, and she was still there when I was there. And it was so full that there was cattle trails, and that's all it was, going through the house. Mm-hmm. There were dead cats and alive cats in the house, and the cats were crawling all over the countertop, and she was just sitting in her chair trying to read a book or something with no electricity, and we had flashlights going in and inspecting this house. She didn't have any running water, so she was using a 5-gallon bucket, and then that was going out back. So, I mean, that's, but that's not the first time. That's a reoccurring, but you know, I've seen thousands of houses, and every time I see that, it still shocks me to believe that somebody is allowing this to happen somewhere.
And it's funny because, like, you know, we talk about some graphic stuff here. One of the things that we like to do here is we try to be the real estate versus the TV shows out there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. You know, and you know, having cats and having this, Nicole, sorry. But like, I forgot, we were talking to somebody last week, and I'm drawing a blank, but they were saying how they found a dead cat in a wall, and they had to call the police because it was mummified because they thought it might have been a baby. And later they found it was just a cat.
Okay.
But, well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen what a dead cat looks like mummified, but it could have been. Anyway, it was just stuck in a wall. And it's just like, that is some crazy ass stuff. So, like, hearing that story, I'm internally like, I gotta vomit. Just because I don't like feces, I don't like dead things in a house, and I could just imagine, you know, the hoarding just falling.
Oh, the odor in that, and then she's smoking in there too, so there's nicotine dripping off the walls. And you know what was crazy about that was, her son lives next door. because she owned the house she owned that house and the one next door, and her son was living in the house next door. And he was mad at her and cussing her out while I was there because she was selling the houses and he didn't have anywhere to stay.
On that note, though, if you do come across a hoarder house like that, or a house that is revolting, and obviously you have to step back and remember that this is not a house that you're going to be living in, but usually that's money. When you can get a house like that, that's money.
Once you get past that odor, that's the odor of money.
Yeah.
You just got to get past it.
So real quick, what about price per square foot recommendations for like a wholesaler guessing at price to retail property? Let me reread that.
Yeah.
Any price per square foot recommendations for a wholesaler to guess at the price to repair the property?
That's going to average. It used to be a lot lower, but the market's up so high. We are running somewhere, I'm telling people right now to be using, on a $200,000 house, be looking at about 15 to 17 per square foot. That's all cosmetic with granite and new bathtubs, new showers, all your fixtures, plugs, plates, switches, toilet paper holders, towel bars, etc. Doesn't include the big five. The big five are foundation, roof, electric, plumbing, HVAC. Simplest way I can break that down to you, and I just started trying this, so don't hold me, we're in the beta phase of this. Each one that needs to be fixed, just plug in $5,000. It's a raw number, but it's close. So if it needs a new roof, it's $5,000. If it needs a new HVAC, it's $5,000.
So if I've got a 1,000 square foot house,
it's probably not $5,000.
well, I'm planning for $15 a square foot.
If the ARV is around 200, if the ARV is less, then you can drop it down.
And if there's more,
it goes up.
So, real quick, shotgun class or speed round, $300,000 house.
I'm going to probably say 25, 28.
$500,000 house.
I would probably not say that. I would say you need to contact somebody.
Okay.
Because at that point, you're really dealing with some high-end stuff.
Specifics.
And what I always tell people when we start getting in that 500 price point, I actually jump the ship at 600.
Okay, because that's your niche is 600 below.
My niche was 5, but with the market being what it is, it's now 6.
So because especially in Dallas, there's 600, 800 $1 million homes. You look at the M Streets, you're buying for 300, and you're ripping the back off, keeping the front facade. And then that's
not us.
That's not you, but that's more of like a new builder type thing.
That's a remodel.
Got it.
That's not a rehab anymore.
Okay.
It's no longer a rehab.
That's not your niche.
Nope.
And again, going back to something we always talk about here, find your niche, stick to it, and that's what Mr. Blake Johnston is doing.
I got a mister.
There's respect. Just because I called you out on grammar, and I butcher all the time, and Daniel called me a douchebag, but it's okay. Thank you, Miranda, for doing the hashtag 200 new 150. It's a thing. It's been hashtagged. Melody, you're welcome. She was eating lunch while we were talking about the grossness. We're about wrapping up, but if you have questions, here's your opportunity to drop them in there. I kind of talked about before when we first started, in Facebook right now, there's a ton of people just really complaining about their GCs. Here's your opportunity to talk to one of the industry's experts, especially in the DFW market, all those questions you may have regarding the general contracting world. What you should be looking for, what you should be looking out for. If you're joining in late, we kind of talked about that before. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments and we'll get to them. As far as getting a hold of you, doing business with you, you said there's like a 24 to 48 hour window that you can, and that's
It may even be shorter than that. It just depends on the scenario. I mean, my advice to our clientele and anybody else needing to look at houses is just keep in mind the market's so fluid, we just need the number. We'll figure out all the education that you need on the back end. We're just looking for numbers. So send over your information, email it to contact us at finishingtouchesremodeling.com or call us at 817-451-6565 and we'll get your questions answered and hopefully give you a hand.
And if I call you guys up, who's looking at the house? Is that you? Do you have a team of surveyors?
It's either me or Brad.
Okay.
But 90% of everything that we do is I've got eyes on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little bit of a control freak, so that's why.
One of the cool things you used to do years ago, and I don't know if you still do it, but because one of your biggest specialties was out-of-state investors.
Yeah, I love them. I love our out-of-staters.
So let's go into that. So say I live in California, and
I've got one in Israel.
I live in Israel. Shalom. I think.
You actually got that right.
How does that work? How does that work with working with you?
It works beautifully.
Okay, that was that was an open-ended question, and you just killed it.
They are not around. They don't bother us. They don't ask questions. They just, no, honestly, it's all done over the internet. I mean, we send them pictures and videos of job progress. We keep them very well informed and updated. Mm-hmm. We make sure that if they have any questions or concerns, those get answered. And, honestly, I like those. So I spend more time with those people probably than I do our in-towners, because I go to the house and I'll take a video and I'll educate them. I got one in California. We're actually fixing to start one in Saginaw for him. We went there just 2 days ago, shot about a 9-minute educational video of just me walking through, explaining everything that we're doing and how we're going to do it and why we're doing what we're doing, so he can get his hands on it. Mm-hmm. And
now, is that cost extra, or is that just, hey, do you mind doing that?
No, it doesn't cost extra.
So, say I'm in Dallas and my house is in Fort Worth, and I just don't want to drive to Fort Worth. Is that something I have to request, or you can do it for me?
No,
anyway?
we're doing it anyway. You just might want to. It never hurts to say, by the way, treat me like an out-of-stater. Now everybody's going to do that.
Which you like, though.
As long as they truly are an out-of-stater, as long as they act like treat me like an out-of-stater, and I'll treat you like one. Act like one, I'll treat you like one.
Oh, Lordy. Nicole's looking at us going, I think you're in trouble. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I know we had a little technical glitch. I think Spectrum Internet just kind of throttled us, because after that, everything was good. If you have any other questions at Finishing Touches, Remodeling, they're tagged in this. Reach out to Blake, reach out to the team. If you're really, truly looking for a good GC to be on your team, Finishing Touches is a great person, or team, I should say.
That's our
person.
team.
There's a big office in Fort Worth. Reach out to them, have them out in your project, get them in early to before your contract, so they could tell you, hey, by the way, just drop that 5 and run, or hey, you got a killer deal. So any final word, final thoughts?
What happens to that hashtag?
Hashtag 200 is the new 150.
What happens?
Oh, nothing. It's just a hashtag.
Okay.
I don't know what a hashtag does.
I don't either. That's why
it makes it blue. I'm not.
Okay, well, we'll just see what happens with it.
Okay.
We'll figure that part of it out.
We'll worry about buying houses and fixing houses, and somebody else can educate us to learn how to speak, but 2, how to use a hashtag. Oh, Jason jumped in. Hey, Jason. I could definitely be an out-of-stater or on the coucher. Ooh, I like that. On the coucher is the new out-of-stater.
There you go, another hashtag.
There you go. We're just full of it. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow we're going to be doing another segment of Grant Teaches Something. On that, if we're going to be doing live deal analysis. So if you want us, or rather Grant, to jump in and do a deal analysis of your deal, just submit it. Just type it in the comments, and we'll jump on that tomorrow. Again, Blake, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you, Henry. Hashtag creates a searchable query or keyword within Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
Thank you. Understand.
He's like, I don't care. I'm just going to go fix a house. Anyway, thanks again so much for coming in. I know we were kind of off the cuff, off the rails at times, but it's live and we're real estate people. It is what it is. So anyway, we'll see you next time. And if you have a house that you need working on in the DFW, Blake is your guy. Right?
That's right.
See you next time.